Captain Hanwoo stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Fleet ship Busan's Hope, staring at the message that had just arrived. In his 30 years of service, he had never seen anything like it. The transmission came from deep space, beyond. The outer colonies carrying symbols and sounds that no human had ever heard before. "Sir, Dr. Yuna is here," his communications officer announced. Dr. Yuna entered the bridge quickly, her face pale with excitement and worry. She had been Earth's top expert in alien languages for 15 years, ever since humanity first picked up radio signals from other worlds, but this was different. This was direct contact. "Captain, this message is real," she said, holding up her tablet. "It took me 6 hours to decode, but the meaning is clear. We've been summoned to appear before something called the Galactic Council." Hanwoo felt his stomach drop. For 300 years, humanity had been alone in space. They had built colonies on 47 worlds, developed faster than light travel, and created artificial intelligence systems that helped run their growing civilization. But they had never met another intelligent species face to face. "What do they want?" Hanwoo asked. "The message doesn't say exactly, but the tone is not friendly. They want representatives from Earth to come to a place called Council Station within 30 days. If we don't come, they say there will be consequences." Commander Jin-ho, who had been listening quietly, stepped forward. He was older than Hanwoo, with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too many battles. "Captain, I think I should lead this mission. Earth Command has already approved it." Hanwoo nodded. Jin-ho was the best choice for such an important task. The man was calm under pressure and knew how to handle difficult situations. If anyone could represent humanity well, it was him. "Who else will go with you?" Hanwoo asked. "Dr. Yuna, obviously. We need someone who can understand their languages. Also So-young from the Diplomatic Corps, and Taemin from the Science Division. A small team, but the best we have." Over the next 2 weeks, preparations moved quickly. The humans chose their newest and largest ship, Soul's Pride, for the journey. It was equipped with the most advanced technology Earth could build, including powerful shields and weapons. They hoped they wouldn't need the weapons, but it was better to be safe. Dr. Yuna worked day and night to learn more about the alien languages in the message. She found patterns that suggested at least 5 different species had sent the transmission. Each one seemed to have a different way of speaking, different sounds, and different ideas about how to structure sentences. "This council seems to be made up of many different alien races," she told the team during one of their preparation meetings. "I think they've been working together for a long time, much longer than humans have been in space." Taemin, a thin, young man with quick hands and a brilliant mind, had been studying the coordinates given in the message. "The location is near the center of the galaxy," he reported. "It's going to take us 25 days to get there, even with our fastest ships." So-young, the diplomat, was the most worried of all. She was used to dealing with human governments, human cultures, human ways of thinking. "How do you negotiate? With aliens?" she asked the others. "What if they think differently than we do? What if they don't understand our customs?" "We'll do our best," Commander Jin-ho told her. "That's all anyone can ask." The day of departure arrived. Soul's Pride was loaded with supplies, gifts from Earth, and detailed records of human history and culture. If this was going to be humanity's first impression on the galaxy, they wanted it to be a good one. Captain Hanwoo watched from the command center as the ship jumped to light speed. He felt a strange mixture of pride and worry. Pride because humanity had come so far in just a few centuries. Worry because they had no idea what they were flying into. The journey to Council Station took exactly 25 days. During that time, the team studied everything they could about the message and tried to prepare for what they might face. Dr. Yuna made progress with the alien languages, learning basic greetings and formal phrases. So-young practiced speeches that she hoped would make humanity seem peaceful and reasonable. When they finally arrived at Council Station, everyone on the ship fell silent. The structure was enormous, bigger than Earth's largest cities. It was built around a small star, with metal corridors and chambers stretching out like the arms of a giant spider. Ships from dozens of different worlds were docked at various ports, each one strange and beautiful in its own way. There must be millions of beings living here, Taemin whispered as he looked at the sensor readings. Commander Jin Ho received permission to dock at a port clearly marked for their arrival. As they approached, they could see aliens working on the station's exterior. Some looked almost human, but with different colored skin or extra arms. Others were so strange that it was hard to tell which end was the head. "Remember, we're here to learn and to represent all of humanity," Jin Ho told his team as they prepared to leave the ship. "Stay calm, be respectful, and follow my lead." The docking port opened, and they walked into a world unlike anything they had ever imagined. The air was breathable but smelled different, with hints of ozone and unfamiliar flowers. The walls were covered in symbols from hundreds of different writing systems. Creatures of all shapes and sizes moved through the corridors, some walking, some floating, some moving in ways that defied easy description. A tall, thin alien with silver skin and 4 arms approached them. It spoke in a musical voice that Dr. Yuna's translator could barely understand. "Welcome, humans. The council is waiting for you. Please follow me." As they walked through the station, Hanwoo noticed that other aliens stopped to stare at them. Some looked curious, others seemed amused, and a few appeared hostile. Whispered conversations followed them down the corridors, and he caught words that his translator rendered as primitives, newcomers, and trouble. Finally, they reached a massive chamber with seats arranged in a circle. Thousands of aliens filled the space, representing species that must have come from across the galaxy. At the center was a platform where 5 particularly impressive aliens sat behind a curved table. Commander Jin Ho straightened his uniform and walked forward with his team. This was it. Humanity's first meeting with the galactic community was about to begin. The massive chamber fell silent as Commander Jin Ho and his team reached the center platform. Above them, thousands of alien beings watched from tiered seating that stretched up into shadows. The air felt heavy with expectation, and something else that Jin Ho couldn't quite identify, perhaps hostility. The 5 aliens at the central table were clearly important. The one in the middle was tall and pale, with skin that seemed to glow softly in the chamber's light. Its eyes were large and dark, and it wore robes covered in symbols that seemed to move when Jin Ho wasn't looking directly at them. "I am Overlord, Thexmore of the Velthari," the being said in a voice that echoed strangely in the chamber. Dr. Yuna's translator worked quickly to convert the sounds into words the humans could understand. "I speak for the Galactic Council, which has ruled this galaxy for over 50,000 years." Jin Ho bowed slightly, the way So Young had taught him during their journey. "I am Commander Jin Ho, representing Earth and all human colonies. We are honored to meet you." Thexmore's expression didn't change. "Honor is not why you are here, human. You are here because your species has become a problem." To the Overlord's right sat a creature that looked like it was made of metal and stone. Its voice was deep and harsh, like rocks grinding against each other. "I am High Marshal Vector of the Krugan Empire. For 300 years we have watched your kind spread across the galaxy like a disease." So Young stepped forward carefully. "High Marshal, we don't understand. Humans have always tried to be peaceful. We've never attacked anyone." "Peaceful?" Another voice joined the conversation. This one came from a being that seemed to be made of living crystal, its body reflecting light in rainbow patterns. "You call it peaceful to take over 47 worlds without asking permission?" Dr. Yuna whispered quickly to Jin Ho. "That's probably from the synthetic collective. They're some kind of artificial intelligence species." Overlord Thexmore raised one long, thin hand for silence. "The charges against humanity are serious. First, you have terraformed planets and built colonies without proper authorization from this council. Second, you have developed artificial intelligence beyond safe parameters. Third, you have established trade routes and communication networks that bypass our taxation and oversight systems. Fourth, you have refused all attempts at contact and regulation." Jin Ho felt confused. "Overlord, with respect, this is the first time any alien species has contacted us. We didn't know we needed permission for anything." "Ignorance is not an excuse," High Marshal Vector growled. Every species that reaches the stars learns of the Council. Every species except humans. It seems. The fifth being at the table spoke for the first time. It was smaller than the others, with multiple eyes arranged around its head like a crown. Its voice was soft, but somehow threatening. I represent the Hive Queens of Zentara. Our scouts have observed human military buildup. You are preparing for war. That's not true, So Young protested. Our military exists only to protect our colonies from pirates and to help with emergencies. Lies, Vectar declared. He gestured, and a holographic display appeared above the table. It showed images of human ships, space stations, and weapons. These are not the tools of a peaceful species. These are the weapons of conquerors. Taman stared at the images with growing concern. The display showed human technology, but not quite as he remembered it. The ships looked more advanced, the weapons more powerful. Either the aliens had better intelligence than he thought, or they were seeing things that the humans themselves didn't know about. Dr. Yuna noticed something strange. Several of the council members kept checking small devices in their hands, almost like they were reading urgent messages. Their body language suggested worry, but not about the humans standing before them. Something else was bothering them. Overlord Thexmore continued speaking, his voice growing colder. The Galactic Council has decided that humanity poses a threat to galactic stability. You have 30 standard days to comply with our demands. A new holographic display appeared, showing a list written in multiple alien languages. Dr. Yuna's translator worked to convert it to human language. First, Thexmore read, "You will dismantle all human colonies beyond your original solar system. Second, you will submit all artificial intelligence research to Council oversight and control. Third, you will accept permanent Council observers on Earth and all remaining human worlds. Fourth, you will pay reparations for unauthorized expansion in the amount of 10,000 credits per colonized world." Jinho felt his heart sink. What the Council was asking for would destroy human civilization as they knew it. Millions of people lived in the outer colonies. Earth's AI systems were essential for managing space travel and colony support. The reparations alone would bankrupt the human economy. "What if we refuse?" he asked quietly. High Marshal Vectar leaned forward and his metal face twisted into what might have been a smile. "Then the Krugan Empire will enforce the Council's will. We have done this before with other stubborn species." The crystal being added, "The synthetic collective agrees. Uncontrolled organic expansion must be stopped before it causes galactic instability." Dr. Yuna watched the other council members carefully. More of them were now looking at their communication devices. Whatever was happening elsewhere in the galaxy, it was making them nervous. She caught fragments of alien conversations from the audience above, words her translator rendered as missing fleets, dark signals, and outer rim silence. So Young tried once more to find a diplomatic solution. "Surely there's room for negotiation. Humans are reasonable people. We can work together to find a solution that satisfies everyone." "There is no negotiation," the Zentara representative declared. "You have 30 days. Comply or face the consequences." Overlord Thexmore stood, and his glowing robes seemed to brighten. "This session is concluded. The human delegation will be escorted to guest quarters to consider their response." As guards moved to surround the human team, alarms suddenly began, blaring throughout the chamber. The sound was loud and urgent, unlike anything the humans had heard before. Red lights flashed from the walls, and the alien conversations above turned into frightened shouts and panicked movements. A new alien rushed into the chamber, a creature with blue skin and tentacles where arms should be. It moved quickly to Overlord Thexmore and began speaking in rapid, frightened tones. The humans couldn't understand the words, but the meaning was clear from the body language. Something terrible was happening. Thexmore's glowing skin suddenly became much brighter, almost blinding. High Marshal Vectar stood so quickly that his chair fell backward with a crash. The crystal being began flickering rapidly, its rainbow patterns becoming chaotic and wild. Dr. Yuna grabbed Jinho's arm. "Something's wrong. Something big. Above." Them, thousands of aliens were now moving toward the exits. The organized, formal atmosphere of the council session was dissolving into chaos. Communication devices throughout the chamber were beeping, buzzing, and flashing with urgent messages. Then a new voice echoed through the chamber, speaking in a language that seemed to be understood by all the aliens present. The humans couldn't understand the words, but they could hear the fear and desperation in the speaker's tone. Overlord. Thexmore looked at the human delegation with an expression that might have been regret or fear. "The session is postponed," he said quickly. "Guards, take the humans to secure quarters, keep them safe." As they were led away from the chamber, Jinho heard fragments of alien conversations that chilled his blood. Words like invasion, outer colonies destroyed, and "they're coming back" reached his ears through Dr. Yuna's overwhelmed translator. Whatever was happening in the galaxy, it was big enough to make the powerful Galactic Council afraid. And, somehow, Jinho suspected that humanity's problems with the Council were about to become much less important. The human delegation was locked in what their guards called guest quarters, but Jinho knew a prison when he saw one. The rooms were comfortable enough, with beds that adjusted to human physiology, and food that was edible if not particularly tasty. But the doors wouldn't open, and armed aliens stood watch outside. For 6 hours they waited while the alarms continued to blare throughout Council Station. Through the small window in their main room, they could see ships launching from the station's docking bays, dozens of them, all heading toward the outer rim of the galaxy. Dr. Yuna had been working constantly with her translation equipment, trying to make sense of the alien conversations they could overhear from the corridors. "I'm picking up fragments," she told the others. "Something about void creatures and impossible readings and entire fleets gone dark." Taman was studying the room's computer terminal, which had been left active. Most of the information was locked away, but he had managed to access some basic news feeds. According to this, 3 Council Fortress worlds have stopped responding to communications in the last 12 hours. That's millions of people. So Young paced back and forth, her diplomatic training useless in their current situation. What kind of enemy could make the entire Galactic Council panic like this? Their questions were answered when the door suddenly opened and Fleet Admiral Garam entered. The alien was tall and covered in what looked like natural armor, with multiple arms and eyes that glowed with an inner fire. Despite its fierce appearance, the creature seemed exhausted and frightened. "Humans," Garam said in heavily accented, but understandable language. "The Council requires your presence. Emergency session." They were escorted back to the main chamber, but it looked very different now. Instead of thousands of aliens in orderly seating, there were perhaps 100 beings clustered in small groups, all talking in urgent whispers. The 5 council leaders sat at their table, but they looked older somehow, as if the last few hours had aged them by years. Overlord Thexmore stood as the humans approached. His glowing skin was dimmer now, almost gray. "Humans, the situation has changed. We face a threat that makes our previous concerns about your species seem insignificant." High Marshal Vectar activated a holographic display, and the humans gasped at what they saw. The image showed a star system, but something was wrong with it. The star itself was dimmer than it should be, and the planets around it looked empty, lifeless. This was the Kelnar system, Vectar explained. Home to 8 billion council citizens. 3 days ago, it was thriving. Today, it is gone. "Gone?" Jinho asked. "What do you mean, gone?" Another alien approached the platform, an elderly creature with wrinkled skin and kind eyes. Dr. Yuna's translator identified it as Scholar Nethys, a keeper of ancient knowledge. "The Void Devourers have returned," Nethys said in a voice heavy with sadness and fear. "We hoped they were just legends, stories told to frighten children. But the ancient records were true." The holographic display changed, showing images that looked like ships, but ships unlike anything the humans had ever seen. They were dark, organic-looking things that seemed to twist and bend in ways that hurt to look at. Where they traveled, space itself seemed to become empty and cold. "What are they?" So Young whispered. Creatures from outside our galaxy, Scholar Nethys explained. Perhaps from outside our universe entirely. They appear every million years, consuming everything in their path. Stars, planets, entire civilizations, all become food for their endless hunger. Fleet Admiral Garam gestured to another display showing tactical information. The Krugan Empire's 7th Fleet was the strongest military force in the galaxy. 5,000 ships, the best weapons we could build, shields that had never been broken. The Void Devourers destroyed them all without losing a single vessel. Dr. Yuna studied the energy readings on the displays. Something about them seemed familiar, but she couldn't place what it was. How long do we have? At their current rate of advance, they will reach the galactic core in 30 days, Thexmore replied. Council Station, Earth, all the major worlds, everything, will be consumed. The crystal being from the synthetic collective flickered rapidly. Our greatest computing systems cannot predict their movements. They do not follow the laws of physics as we understand them. Taman stepped closer to the displays, his scientific mind trying to make sense of what he was seeing. These energy signatures, he said slowly. There's something strange about them. They're not entirely alien. Scholar Nethys looked at the young human with interest. What do you mean? I'm not sure yet. But some of these readings look almost familiar. Like something I've seen in human research data, but different somehow. Meanwhile, Engineer Bora was studying her own equipment back on Sol's Pride, which was still docked at Council Station. She had been monitoring the emergency transmissions and had made a discovery that chilled her to the bone. Captain Han Wu, she called over the communication link. I'm detecting quantum signatures in the Void Devourer energy patterns, signatures that match human technology. Han Wu, still aboard the human ship, felt his blood turn cold. That's impossible. Humans have never encountered these creatures before. I know it's impossible, but the readings don't lie. Whatever these things are, they have some connection to human technology. Or human technology has some connection to them. Back in the council chamber, the debate was growing more desperate. Species after species reported the same thing. Their most advanced weapons had no effect on the Void Devourers. Their strongest shields were torn apart like paper. Their fastest ships were caught and consumed before they could escape. Perhaps we should evacuate, suggested the Zentara representative. Load our populations onto ships and flee to other galaxies. There isn't time, Garam replied grimly. And where would we go? The ancient records suggest that the Void Devourers have consumed entire galactic clusters before. Dr. Yuna had been listening to all of this while studying her translation equipment. Suddenly, she looked up with wide eyes. Wait, the ancient records? How old are they exactly? Scholar Nethys consulted a device that looked like a crystal tablet. The oldest references to the Void Devourers date back 1,200,000 years. They describe the last time these creatures appeared. And what happened then? How were they stopped? They weren't stopped, Nethys said, sadly. According to the records, they consumed most of the galaxy's civilizations. Only a few species survived, and those only by hiding in the darkest corners of space until the creatures left. But something must have made them leave, Dr. Yuna pressed. They didn't just decide to go away on their own. Nethys looked uncomfortable. The records are unclear. There are references to a guardian species that fought them, but the information is fragmentary. Most of it was lost when the survivors tried to rebuild their civilizations. Commander Jinho felt a strange chill run down his spine. 1,000,000 years ago, a guardian species that fought the Void Devourers. Energy signatures that matched human technology. Scholar Nethys, he said carefully. What do the records say about this guardian species? What were they called? The old alien consulted its crystal tablet again, then looked up with surprise. The translation is difficult, but the closest meaning in your language would be children of the third world from the yellow star. The records say they were fierce warriors who refused to surrender, even when defeat seemed certain. The chamber fell silent. Every alien eye turned to look at the human delegation. Earth was the third planet from a yellow star. The silence in the council chamber stretched like a held breath. Every alien in the room stared at the four humans standing near the central platform. Commander Jinho felt the weight of their attention, but his mind was racing with implications he didn't want to believe. Dr. Yuna broke the silence first. That's impossible. Human civilization is only a few thousand years old. We have records going back to our earliest history. Scholar Nethys approached them slowly, its crystal tablet glowing brighter as it accessed deeper archives. The records speak of a species that was scattered after the last battle. Their memories were altered. Their technology was reduced. They were hidden away until they could grow strong again. Hidden by whom? So Young asked. By themselves, Nethys replied softly. The surviving Guardians knew that the Void Devourers would return. They spread their people across many worlds, wiped their memories of the ancient war and left only instincts and genetic memories to guide them. Taman stared at the energy readings still displayed on the holograms. Suddenly, pieces began falling into place in his mind. Our AI development, he whispered. It's been faster than it should be, almost like we're remembering how to build things rather than inventing them. Dr. Yunnan nodded slowly. And our expansion patterns. Every human colony was placed in a location that would be strategically useful for defending the galaxy's core systems. We thought we were just looking for good planets to live on, but you were following an ancient battle plan. Fleet Admiral Garam finished grimly. Overlord Thexamor's skin began glowing brighter as understanding dawned. Your reckless military buildup. Your refusal to follow galactic law. You weren't preparing to conquer the galaxy. You were preparing to defend it. Commander Jinho activated his communication link to Seoul's Pride. Captain Hanwoo, I need you to contact Earth immediately. Have them run deep scans on all our colonial installations. Look for technology or structures that we didn't remember building. Hanwoo's voice came through clearly. Sir, Engineer Bora has been doing exactly that. The results are disturbing. Every human colony has underground facilities that don't appear in any construction records, and the energy signatures match the Void Devourer readings. Weapons? High Marshal Vectar asked sharply. Possibly, but also other things. Computer systems, power generators, communication arrays, all using technology that's more advanced than anything we consciously know how to build. Back on Earth, Commander Do-hyun was receiving similar reports from across human space. He stood in the command center of a facility that officially didn't exist, buried deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. For 30 years he had been the keeper of humanity's deepest secrets, and now those secrets were finally becoming clear. Sir, Lieutenant Su-jin reported from her station. The awakening protocols are active. Installations across all 47 colonies are coming online automatically. Do-hyun watched the displays show human ships transforming themselves in ways that should have been impossible. Weapon systems were emerging from hidden compartments. Shield generators were reconfiguring into patterns that his conscious mind didn't recognize but somehow felt familiar. How long until full activation? He asked. 6 hours for basic systems, sir. Full combat readiness will take 3 days. On Council Station, the debate had turned from panic to desperate hope. If the humans really were the descendants of an ancient guardian race, then maybe the galaxy had a chance after all. But Dr. Yuna was studying genetic data that Scholar Nethys had shared with her, and what she found was troubling. Commander, the genetic markers are clear. Humans are definitely related to the ancient guardians, but we're not the same species. What do you mean? Jinho asked. We're weaker, smaller, less advanced. The original guardians were apparently much more capable than modern humans. The process that scattered and hid them also reduced their capabilities significantly. Scholar Nethys nodded sadly. The records suggest this was necessary. The full power of the guardian species was too dangerous to leave active. They chose to weaken themselves to prevent their own power from becoming corrupted. High Marshal Vectar slammed his armored fist on the table. Then we're doomed. If the original guardians could barely stop the Void Devourers at full strength, what hope do weakened humans have? But Taman was studying the ancient battle records with growing excitement. Wait, look at this. The Guardians didn't win by being stronger than the Devourers. They won by being unpredictable. Every other species in the galaxy follows logical patterns, but humans Both ancient and modern. Think differently. He pointed to tactical displays showing the ancient war. The Void Devourers adapt to any strategy they encounter, but human tactics were so chaotic, so illogical, that the creatures couldn't predict or counter them. Engineer Bora's voice came through the communication link again. Sirs, I'm detecting massive energy buildups in the hidden installations, and I'm receiving data streams that are teaching our AI systems new capabilities. It's like the ancient humans left instruction manuals for their descendants. Admiral Subin's voice suddenly joined the conversation from the secret Earth facility. This is Admiral Subin, commander of the Terra Defense Grid. All human military personnel, we are now at full alert. The ancient protocols are active, Commander. Jinho looked confused. Admiral Subin? I don't know that name. Few do, Subin replied calmly. My organization has existed in secret for 3 centuries, maintaining the hidden installations and watching for signs that the Void Devourers might return. We've been preparing for this day since the first human ships left Earth. The Council. Leaders looked at each other with growing amazement and concern. The species they had been trying to suppress and control had been secretly preparing to defend the entire galaxy. How many ships do you have? Fleet Admiral Garam asked. More than you might expect, fewer than we'd like, Subin answered. But they're equipped with weapons designed specifically to fight creatures that exist partially outside normal spacetime. Dr. Yuna was still studying the genetic data when she made another shocking discovery. Commander, there's something else. The genetic modifications that weakened humanity also did something unexpected. They made humans more adaptable, more resilient, and more creative than the original Guardians. What does that mean? So Young asked. It means modern humans might actually be better suited to fight the Void Devourers than their ancient ancestors were. The original Guardians were powerful but rigid. Modern humans are weaker individually but more flexible and unpredictable as a group. Scholar Nethys consulted its ancient records again. The final battle records mention something called the Evolution Protocol. The Guardians believed that their scattered descendants would eventually become something greater than the originals. Overlord Thexmore stood up slowly, his glowing skin now bright with hope instead of fear. Then the Council was wrong to try to suppress humanity. We should have been helping them prepare. High Marshal Vectar's armored face twisted into what might have been regret. Our interference may have delayed their readiness. How many more days do we have? Admiral Subin's voice carried grim determination. The Void Devourers will reach Council Station in 28 days, but they'll hit the outer human colonies first. We'll make our stand there, at the edge of known space where the ancient Guardians first faced them. Commander Jinho felt the weight of history settling on his shoulders. Humanity wasn't just fighting for their own survival. They were fighting for the entire galaxy, just as their forgotten ancestors had done 1,000,000 years ago. But this time they wouldn't be fighting alone. The combined fleet assembled at the edge of human space was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Ships from dozens of Council species flew alongside vessels that had emerged from hidden human installations across 47 worlds. Captain Hanwoo commanded the lead formation from Soul's Pride, but even he was amazed at what humanity had somehow built in secret. Sir, the Incheon's Fury is reporting full weapons activation, his communications officer announced. Through the bridge windows, Hanwoo watched as the human ship's hull opened like a flower, revealing weapons that seemed to bend light around themselves. Admiral Subin's command ship, the Terra's Shield, appeared next to them in a flash of energy that made the bridge instruments flicker. The ship had been invisible until that moment, using technology that shouldn't have existed. Admiral Subin to all vessels. Her voice came through clearly. The Void Devourers have consumed the Kelnar system completely and are moving toward the Rigel sector. Estimated arrival at our position, 6 hours. Commander Jinho stood on the bridge of the Council flagship, watching the tactical displays with growing concern. The enemy had already destroyed 3 more star systems since leaving Council Station. Entire worlds had simply vanished, leaving behind empty space that hurt to look at. Fleet Admiral Garam, Jinho said. Your ships should stay back during the initial engagement. We don't know how these ancient human weapons will interact with standard council technology. The armored alien commander nodded grimly. Understood. But if your people fall, we'll follow you into battle. Better to die fighting than to watch our galaxy consumed. Dr. Yuna had spent the journey working with Scholar Nethys to unlock more ancient records. What they had found was both encouraging and terrifying. The original Guardians fought the Void Devourers for 300 years, she reported to the fleet commanders. They won, but the cost was enormous. Entire civilizations were sacrificed to buy time for the final battle. Wing Commander Kite led the first fighter squadron to launch from the hidden installations. His ship looked almost normal from the outside, but inside the controls responded to thoughts as much as touch. When he activated the combat systems, reality seemed to shift around him. This is incredible, he reported over the comm. I can see the Void Devourers coming, but they're not entirely in our dimension. They keep flickering in and out of existence. Chief Engineer Heejin monitored the weapon systems from her position deep inside Terra's shield. The displays showed energy patterns that shouldn't have been possible, weapons that fired backward through time, and shields that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Admiral Subin, all temporal weapons are charged and ready. She reported, but I have to warn you, using these systems will have consequences we can't predict. Understood, Chief Engineer. But if we don't use them, there won't be anyone left to worry about consequences. The Void Devourers appeared on the, edge of sensor range as dark spots against the stars. Where they traveled, space itself seemed to become empty and cold. Their ships, if they could be called ships, twisted and changed shape constantly, never appearing quite the same twice. Contact in 5 minutes, reported Lieutenant Su Jin from her weapon station. All human vessels, activate ancient protocols. On my mark. Across the fleet, human ships began to change. Hulls that had appeared solid revealed hidden weapons. Engines that had seemed normal began producing energy signatures that violated known physics. Most surprising of all, the ships began to phase in and out of reality, becoming partially invisible. By the ancient stars, whispered High Marshal Vectar from his observation position. The humans aren't just using advanced technology, they're using impossible technology. The first wave of Void Devourers struck like a tide of living darkness. Their weapons reached across space to drain energy from anything they touched. Council ships that got too close simply stopped working, their crews falling asleep at their stations as their life force was consumed. But the human ships were different. When the Void Devourers tried to drain them, the humans seemed to absorb the attack and convert it into power for their own weapons. Wing Commander Kite's fighter squadron engaged the enemy first. Their weapons fired beams of pure thought, missiles that existed in multiple times simultaneously, and energy blasts that seemed to come from nowhere. The Void Devourers, who had adapted to every weapon they had previously faced, were clearly confused by attacks that made no logical sense. Target their dimensional anchors, Admiral Subin commanded. Don't let them fully enter our reality. Chief Engineer Heejin activated the temporal weapons, and the effect was immediate and terrifying. Beams of energy shot out from the human ships and struck the Void Devourers before the weapons had actually been fired. The enemy creatures writhed and screamed with sounds that existed only in the minds of those who heard them. But the Void Devourers were learning. They began to adapt their tactics, spreading out to avoid the temporal weapons and attacking from multiple dimensions at once. For every enemy ship the humans destroyed, 2 more appeared to take its place. We're being overwhelmed, reported Wing Commander Kite, as his fighter squadron fell back toward the main fleet. There are too many of them. That was when the Council forces joined the battle. Fleet Admiral Garam led the charge, his massive battleships opening fire with conventional weapons that, while less effective than the human technology, provided crucial support and distraction. For the galaxy, Garam shouted over the communications. All ships, give the humans time to use their greatest weapons. Dr. Yuna watched the battle from Soul's Pride, but her attention was focused on the genetic scanner she had been running, on the human crew. What she saw made her gasp with shock and understanding. "Commander Jinho," she called urgently. "The battle. It's changing us. The human crews are showing genetic activation patterns. We're becoming more like the original Guardians." It was true. Across the human fleet, crew members were reporting enhanced reflexes, improved thinking speed, and an intuitive understanding of their weapon systems that they had never possessed before. The stress of battle was awakening genetic memories that had been dormant for 1,000,000 years. Admiral Subin made a decision that would determine the fate of the galaxy. "All ships, prepare for evolution protocol activation. This will either save us all or destroy us, but we can't defeat the Void Devourers with conventional tactics." Chief Engineer Hae Jin's hands flew over her controls. "Admiral, the evolution protocol will change every human in the fleet. There's no going back after this." "I know, but look around us. Half the galaxy is already gone. We have to risk everything." The evolution protocol activated across all 47 human colonies simultaneously. Ancient installations that had been charging for 1,000,000 years released their stored energy in a coordinated pulse that reached across space instantly. Every human in the galaxy felt the change as their genetic code rewrote itself, awakening capabilities that had been dormant since the last war with the Void Devourers. Wing Commander Kaite felt his consciousness expand beyond his physical body. Suddenly, he could see the battle from multiple perspectives at once, understanding the Void Devourer's tactics instinctively. His fighter ship responded to his thoughts directly, becoming an extension of his enhanced mind. The tide of battle began to turn. Human ships that had been struggling against superior numbers now moved with perfect coordination, their crews functioning as a single organism. The Void Devourers, who had been adapting to human tactics, found themselves facing opponents who were changing faster than adaptation was possible, but the cost was enormous. The evolution protocol was consuming massive amounts of energy, and human colonies across the galaxy were going dark as their power systems overloaded. Millions of humans were changing in ways that they might not survive. President Aicha spoke from Earth, her voice reaching every human ship in the fleet. "We are what our ancestors chose to become. We are the guardians of the galaxy, not because we are stronger than others, but because we refuse to surrender, when surrender would mean extinction for everyone we protect." The final assault came when Admiral Subin ordered all temporal weapons to fire simultaneously at a single point in spacetime. The coordinated attack created a dimensional rift that pulled the remaining Void Devourers back to whatever realm they had come from. But the effort required every human in the fleet to merge their consciousness temporarily, creating a collective mind that could operate weapons designed by their ancient ancestors. When the battle ended, half the Void Devourer fleet was destroyed, and the other half had retreated to whatever dark dimension they called home. The galaxy was safe, but the cost had been terrible. Entire star systems were gone forever, and humanity itself had been fundamentally changed. Overlord Thexmore, dying from energy poisoning received during the battle, called Commander Jinho to his side. "The Council was wrong to try to control humanity," he whispered. "From this day forward, the galaxy will be protected by those who understand the true cost of freedom." President Aicha addressed the surviving Council members from the rebuilt Earth Command Center. "We stand together, now not as rulers and subjects, but as partners in protecting what we've all built together." The